All right, let's get right into it. Today, we're talking about a really subtle but super critical vulnerability in the world of AI, system prompt leakage. Now, it might sound a bit technical, but trust me, if you're building anything with large language models, this is something you absolutely need to get your head around. Just imagine for a second, what if that secret playbook, the one that makes your AI yours, just leaked for the whole world to see? That's pretty much the core of the problem we're digging into today. So, to really get what's going on with this leak, we first have to talk about what's actually leaking. And that's something called the system prompt. You can think of it as the AI's secret set of instructions. It's kind of like a director giving notes to an actor before they go on stage. It's all that behind the scenes guidance that tells the AI exactly how it should act, what its personality is, what rules it has to follow, its whole purpose, really. This is the magic sauce that turns a generic off-the-shelf model into your special application. Okay, so what happens when those director's notes, those secret instructions, get out into the open? Well, that's exactly where the vulnerability pops up. The problem really starts when we, as developers, are trying so hard to guide the AI that we accidentally slip some sensitive stuff into those instructions. Things that were absolutely never meant to see the light of day. And once an attacker gets their hands on that info, it's not just about them knowing your AI's little quirks. Nope. They can use it like a blueprint, a roadmap, to launch way more serious attacks against your entire system. But here's where things get interesting, and where a lot of people get it wrong. You'd think the leak itself is the main problem, right? Well, let's dig into that, because the real risk, it's actually something a lot deeper. I mean, it's totally natural to focus on the prompt getting out. It feels like someone stole your secret sauce, your intellectual property. And hey, they kind of did. But if you only focus on trying to stop the leak, you're completely missing the real fundamental security flaw here. And don't just take my word for it. OWASP, the Open Web Application Security Project, puts it perfectly. They say the disclosure of the prompt isn't the real risk. The real risk is all about the stuff you decided to put in the prompt in the first place. So let's be super clear about this. The critical takeaway is that the problem isn't that prompts can be leaked. The problem is that we're treating them like there's some kind of secure vault for our secrets and our security rules. And that, my friends, is a huge mistake. Okay, so if the problem is what we're stuffing inside the prompt, what are the actual dangers? What can go wrong? Let's break down 4 of the biggest risks that all come from this one bad practice. So what are we talking about here? Well, first, you could expose some seriously sensitive stuff, like API keys. Second, you could leak all your internal business roles. Third, you're basically handing attackers a guide on how to bypass your filters. And fourth, you could be revealing your entire permission setup, telling them exactly how to climb the ladder and get more access. All right, let's start with danger number 1, exposing sensitive functionality. I'm talking about things like API keys, database passwords, maybe even details about how your whole system is built. If you put that stuff in a prompt and it leaks, that's not just a leak anymore. You've literally just handed an attacker the keys to the kingdom. Now, for danger number 2, leaking your internal rules. Look at this example from a banking app. The prompt says transaction limits are $5,000 a day. An attacker who sees this doesn't just learn a fun fact. They now know the exact financial rules of your app. They can start crafting attacks specifically designed to fly just under that radar. And the last 2 dangers are just as bad. If your prompt explains your content filters, you've basically just handed over a how-to guide for bypassing them. Same thing with user roles. If you spell out that admins can do this special thing, you've just painted a giant target, inviting attackers to figure out how to become an admin. Okay, so yeah, that all sounds pretty bad. And it is. But here's the good news. The fix is actually pretty straightforward, at least in concept. So let's talk about how we can build our AI systems to be more secure. Really, it all boils down to one simple idea. Don't stick your secrets directly in the prompt. Instead, do assume your prompt is basically public information. If your AI needs to use something sensitive like an API key, don't put the key in the prompt. Instead, have the prompt call a separate secure tool that handles all that secret stuff on the side. But it doesn't stop there. You need to think in layers. You should have external guardrails that are constantly checking the AI's output after it comes out. And this is huge. Your most important security checks, like who's allowed to do what, need to be enforced in your actual application code, not by just politely asking the LLM in a prompt to please follow the rules. And there's a really good reason for this. Think about it. Real security controls have to be rock solid, predictable, and auditable. You have to know without a doubt that a rule is going to be enforced every single time. LLMs, they're just not built that way. They're probabilistic. They're all about guessing the next best word. You just can't give them a job that requires 100% certainty. So, after everything we've talked about, what's the one big idea you should remember? I like to call it the prompt's golden rule. It's this simple. Your prompt is a guide, not a guard. Its job is to give direction, to give context. Its job is not to be a security wall. It's more of a gentle suggestion, not a hard and fast law. And that brings us to the final absolute takeaway, straight from the security experts at OWASP. You have to build your system assuming that one day an attacker will read your entire system prompt. And if that thought makes you even a little bit nervous, then you've probably got a flaw in your design. So I'm going to leave you with a question to chew on, something to think about for your own projects. If your system prompt in its entirety got posted on the internet right this second, what would an attacker find? If the answer is anything that makes you uncomfortable, well, you've got some work to do. Thanks for tuning in.